It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. They're learning how to shoot and learning how to light, learning how to mic and edit right. These are TCTV's finest in training, doing their best with focusing and framing. It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. You're watching TCTV. It's the training show. The TCTV Training Show. They will get better.
So here we are. Welcome to our motion class, our introduction to motion for second Saturday. Thanks for coming, everybody. Inside compositions, there are some presets, and I want to start out by showing you how to adjust these. And you can just open one of these. Like here, this one's got 3 different projects in it. It's called atmospheric, and it's got one here that's a lower third, one here that's a menu. Can you guys see this screen okay? And then the other one is an opening. And then decode has some different presets: pulse, skyline, snap, splash, swarm, and vine. So one thing you have to be aware about using these is you're going to see them other places. Other people are going to be using these because, you know, they come with the program. But let's just start by showing you what swarm does. And I'm going to pick the lower third here for swarm. And I'm going to open it up. And so this is opening us a template that comes with motion. And I'm just going to teach you first how to adjust a template. So swarm, lower third. Yay! Hooray! It worked! Okay. All right, so now this is what, okay, let me show you about some things here. This down here is kind of what we would have, like if you're familiar with Final Cut, this is like the timeline down here. And then this is kind of like your viewer, and this is kind of like your layers, and then your inspector is over here. So you've got 3 different tabs in this left side of the screen: file browser, library, and inspector. And can we hold questions until I ask for questions for this workshop, because I'm trying to keep going. So inspector will let you adjust things. Like if I click on one of these layers here and I go to inspector, this is going to adjust here this layer that's called text elements. Now what you need to also be aware of is each one of these layers is a group, so it may have other things in it. And in fact, I'll just fold this down and you'll see this has 2 different, well, and then you can fold these down. So here's what this group looks like, and it's called text elements. It's got a text layer called a name here, another one called description, and then it's got these little things here with the gears on it. Those are effects, and I can show you what this looks like down here too. There's multiple ways to kind of access this stuff. So this is what it's going to look like later if I scroll into this. Oh, I know what's going on. We are not seeing the whole project right now. We're in 100%. We need to click this to fit. Okay. All right, so now you see that it says name here and description. And I can scroll through this, and you should be able to see it changing here. There it goes. Okay. So this little animation thing where it says name here and description, see these little purple things? Those are the animations, and then these are the actual layers. So as I click on this layer that's named name here, I can go into inspector and go to text and see where it says name here. Well, I'm going to change that. I don't want it to say name here for my project. I want it to say Robert Cam. So I'm going to put that. There we go. And then there we go. So now it says Robert Cam, and I could leave it saying Robert Cam description, but I don't want it to say description under my name. So I probably want it to say my title. So I'm going to go to description. Now, there's different ways to navigate to these things. Like I can just click on description and it'll pop up, and you'll see that over here, you see that changed. See, I can click on Robert Cam and it changes to that one. That one's highlighted. And then I click on description and then that one's highlighted. So I want to change what it says here. So I'm going to make sure that's highlighted in the foreground, description, and then I'm going to go to my inspector, which is already open, and I'm going to go down here to where the text says description and change this. And we'll put public access manager. So there we have a title. So I've just easily adjusted a preset, put my own name and title in there, and I can render it out. This preset doesn't do anything at the end, and it doesn't do much in the middle either. It seems kind of a boring preset, to be honest with you. It does a little bit of animation here, but some of the other cool presets will have a lot more going on. So I'm just going to show you how to export this now at this point. And so we've been able to change the text on a preset, and now you can just render this out as a movie, as an MOV file. So the way to do that is to go to Share, Export Movie. Okay, so now instead of going from a preset, we're going to just start from a blank motion project. And I'm going to show you how to keyframe and move things around and fun stuff like that. Now, when you go to this project, remember this is our layers right here. And when you go to project at the top here, then you go to inspector, then that's going to give you all your properties for the project. And right now the preset is broadcast HD 720. Let's go ahead and change that to 1080. And then let's go up here and do fit on the screen. Okay, good. Now we can drag things into our project. Right now it's just black. So if you went to share and exported out this file, it would just be a black screen, nothing. And the other thing we should pay attention to is how long this project is. Our duration here is 10 minutes, so you can change that right there. The other things you can change in the project, let's see. Those are the most important things, is the time and the format. So we've done all that. And now, so 10 seconds, I'll just leave it as 10 seconds. You know, you can make it as long as you want or as short as you want. So we're going to do a 10-second little video here, and I can drag things from my files. If I go to File Browser here, now my folder that I made for this class here is in here. And so we have a TCTV logo. That might be handy, so maybe we'll start with that. So I can just drag that over and drop it down on the screen. And so there's our TCTV logo. Now you see that it has a wireframe box around it, and that indicates, well, maybe we can change it. We can move it around, we can change its size. If we grab these edges, we can scale it. And you'll see that it scales, it doesn't scale the same way. I can make it go upside down, I can make it go backwards and stuff like that. But it's letting me kind of squish it. You know, I can change the proportions. Well, I don't want it to get squished, so I'm going to undo that. Just like in Final Cut, you can undo by hitting Apple Z. It's back to normal. Hold down Shift and size it, and it goes the same. You know, it doesn't change its proportions, so we can do that. Now, we can move it around just by dragging it, but again, everything is done in the inspector. These are just kind of shortcuts that allow you to do it on the screen here, but if I go to inspector here and I go to properties, then I can scale it from here. It's the same thing I was doing by grabbing the edges of the wireframe. Rotation can also be done, and then there's an anchor point, but all that stuff is inside the inspector. You can crop it. We can add a drop shadow, and the drop shadow, what was that? What did that look like? Let's give it a drop. You don't have anything to drop shadow it on. Let's give it something in the background so we can kind of see things. So I have a bunch of jump backs that I loaded here, and I'm going to go inside there. And now I'm going to grab this one that you saw on the little advertisement for Second Saturday. I'm going to put this I can put it onto the screen, or I can just drop it in here, or I can drop it down here. Anywhere it's going to go into the project. So if I drop it right there, it put it on top of my logo, which I didn't want, and I'm going to undo that. Let's do that again. I'm going to drag it in here. Now I want it to show up underneath the logo. So I wait until that line gives me, that little blue line shows up. You see that blue line? Also, you're going to notice what's going on here is that one that says group is got a white ring around it. That means that it's going to put this item in that group. if I want it to do its own group, I make it to where that goes away. I just drag it to the left a little bit. And let's go back and drag it. There we go. And so now it made its own group. You got group, and then you've got group 1. So now we've got the drop shadow. You can see the drop shadow. It's really nice. So I went back to my TCTV logo, go to Inspector, and it looks like this with the jump back moving, animating, and stuff like that. Do we want to animate this TCTV logo? Let's make it animate. Let's make it fly in from the edge. I'll show you how to do this. So I'm going to go back to where that's in the foreground. Now I can do this by adjusting the group. I can keyframe the whole group, or I can keyframe just the item. And this is what you have to pay attention to what you're doing, because you could set a bunch of keyframes, but you're setting them on the group, and then if you put anything else in that group, then those keyframes are going to adjust that as well. Or you can just do the single item. You just kind of have to pay attention to that stuff. You can get confused in the grouping in this program. But I'm going to go ahead and keyframe this on the actual item, and you'll see that instead of the group highlighted, I have the item inside the group highlighted. So now with that done, I go back to my inspector, and it's still open, and I take this logo and I'm going to slide it off the screen. We'll have it come in from the left. So now we got to pay attention to where we are in the timeline. This is the timeline, and so it's set in frames. I'm going to go ahead and set that into seconds. So we're going to go maybe 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. Let's say after 2 seconds, that logo is going to be on the screen somewhere. So let's go. We set a keyframe. Right now there's a keyframe. Well, actually there's not a keyframe set, but let's set one. So still have that item highlighted there, and I go to this little plus symbol next to the position. So here's position. It's at -1500. That means it's off the screen. So I'm going to set the plus button there. Click plus. Now I'm going to go 2 seconds into the animation right there. So I move the cursor. Then I go back to the transform button. I hit plus again, and I move this over like so. There we go. And so now we've just created our first animation in motion. It looks like this. There we go, and it stays there. Let's have some video clips. You know, this is a still image. It's a logo. It's got an alpha channel. But let's throw in some video clips that I made for this. And what I'm going to have happen is this TCTV logo is going to pop in here. And after it's done popping, I'm going to have some video clips scrolling down on the side here, right down here. So to do that, we got to put the video clips in one by one. So first we go back to our file browser, and now this is inside the jump back folder, but I can navigate to anything I want up here, and it happens to be, I can just click the back button, and the back arrow takes me to where I previously was. So inside jump backs is where those jump backs were, but inside studio clips is some clips that we took of our brand new HD Studio. So I'm going to drop one of those in, and let's drop in a picture of the switcher. So the switcher, and I'm just going to drag this, and I want to put it in a new group. I'm going to let it create a new group, group 2. I'm going to put all of these clips into group 2. So let's do like 5 of them. Let's take this one. I'm going to put it down there. So now that's in group 2. And I'm going to put this one into group 2 like that. And let's see, what else do we have? We've got a teleprompter here, the big camera. We'll drop that down right there. And maybe 5 of them. Let's do the record decks here. Put that in here. Oh, they've got music on them, so I'm just going to mute the laptop here. So there, okay. Uh-oh, you'll notice something happened. You see the timeline? All those clips started where my cursor had been. So that's not exactly what I wanted. I wanted them all to start at the beginning, but whenever you put new clips in, it's going to drop them down where your cursor was on the timeline. But I can move them all. Remember, they're all in the same group, group 2. We can change the name of group 2 to video clips. Clips. There. So now we take the video clips group, and we take the whole group. I can drag it, all of them come at one time like that. But you know, I really don't even need them until 2 seconds because we're not going to start these. And you'll see that some of them run out. Some of them are shorter than 10 seconds. And that's why you see, you know, the layer stop there and it turns black, like right there, because it ran out. So I don't want that to happen. I'm going to move them all over. I'm going to move them back anyway. But anyway, you know now that you can move a whole group of stuff and move it over. So now we've got all of these clips full screen. I'm going to magnify this out. Now I'm going to I changed the view to where we can see more of the, I guess canvas is what you want to call it. So I'm going to go to each one of these clips one by one and I'm going to scale them down because remember I want all those clips to just kind of come down the screen next to that TCTV logo and just kind of scroll down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the whole group, I'm going to animate the group to come down. But in order for those clips to be stacked on top of each other, I need to arrange them to where they're stacked on top of each other. So that's what I'm going to do now, one by one. So I'm going to start with clip 8, which is the one you're seeing now because it's the one on top. So that's the other thing you have to realize is that it's showing the stuff on top first. So if this clip here on top takes up the full screen, then you're not going to see anything else. Unless, you know, you shrink it down or you put like some kind of opacity mode or you give it kind of make it see-through. You can do a number of things in this program to make that clip, you know, see-through or see the other stuff underneath. But let's just size it down. So I'm going to take Shift, size that down. I held down Shift so it comes at the same time. And we can move this one up, way up here. Okay. And now we kick the next one, and we do the same thing. It kind of gives you these, yeah, it's not doing it right, but let's see how big that other one is. Okay. Okay, let's do this, move it up. I wish it would show me the other one at the same time. I think that little yellow light, the way that bar lit up yellow tells me I'm at the bottom of the one on top of it. So let's size this one down, and we'll move him up. There it is. There's that yellow bar. There we go. And then we'll size this one down. Now this isn't creating keyframes at this point. It's just arranging all these clips on top of each other. We'll set keyframes in a little bit here, and I'll move this one down. Perfecto. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my fit window, and there we can see everything. Oops, see everything's a little bit, we just need to do a little bit of adjustments to get them. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to animate the whole group. And if I animate the group scrolling down the side, then we're going to see all those clips, you know, and it'll be one keyframe. Instead of making several, this is a shortcut to just do this all in one keyframe. So we go to Video Clips, which is the name of our group, and then we go to Inspector, and then we go to Properties, and then we raise this up, raise it up. There we go. So now it's off the screen. And so it's off the screen here. I'm going to create a keyframe there, and then I'm going to move this later on in the video and create another keyframe. So I'm going to go to, let's say I'm going to go to 8 seconds so that we have the last 2 seconds to wrap up our animation, however we want to do that. Make the logo fly out, have it all fade, I don't know. Give us 2 seconds to close it out. So now I'm going to set a keyframe here on this group. Who doesn't know what a keyframe is? Okay. A keyframe is when you set one spot on a video, when you set a keyframe, it's going to remember where that piece of video or where that image or where that whatever it might be is, and then you go later in the video and change it to a different place. And the computer fills in all the gaps. So if you have a keyframe of a piece set here, and then later on in the video you have the piece set here, then it just moves between the keyframes, and the computer fills in all the rest. So a keyframe is telling it where you start, where you go, where you go next. Those are where keyframes are. And so right now I'm keyframing this whole group to animate down and stop when we get to right there, because that's the last clip. Or maybe it should just go all the way off. I'll make it go all the way off. Okay. So now what we've done is this. TCTV comes on, video clips come in. A little bit fast though, huh? So what happens here to my logo? Can anybody figure it out? Why does it just disappear?
It's the end of the clip.
Exactly. So I need to go down to that layer that the TCTV logo is on, and I have to extend it out. It's just a still. I can extend it as long as I want. So all I'm going to do here is go down to the layer that the TCTV logo is on, and I'm just going to stretch it on out like this. Boom, and now we're all the way to the 15-second mark. So now our TCTV logo is not going to disappear, but it's definitely not going into the center and fading out. We have to do that ourselves. So once this last video clip goes off the screen, I'm going to set another keyframe. All right, and this is, I have to set this keyframe. I can't just go and I need to set the keyframe right here with this TCTV logo in this position, and I'm going to explain why. Because if I don't, if I just go later on, let's say I want at, actually I'll just show you. If I want the TCTV logo to be in the center right about here at 12 seconds, then I can do that by just going over to TCTV logo, drag this over, and set another key. It's actually setting the keyframe for me. As I moved it, you'll see it turned yellow. So as you start adjusting things, it kind of knows, oh, you're making a keyframe. I'll go ahead and make a keyframe. So I didn't have to click that button. But now let me show you what's going to happen. This is going to be bad for us because it's going to start moving to this position from where the last keyframe was. And I don't know where that last keyframe was. It's probably at the very beginning. So you'll see what this is going to do. This is going to cause us problems. There's the TCTV logo. All that looks good so far. Uh-oh. It's starting to move on its own. And it's going behind the clips. Okay, well, we didn't want it to do that. We wanted it to start moving here, right? So here's what we have to do. We have to go back a keyframe. So you see this right here? This is where I'm going to go back an arrow. There's the previous keyframe. That's the one that puts it in the center of the screen. Let's go back another one. Boom. Okay, so this one is set at 2 seconds. Well, we need it to stay here, you know, until all of those other clips go by, and that happens somewhere around 11. So we need to make it stay put. So I have to set another keyframe to tell it to stay put. So we're going to go to, actually, I might just do this. I might go that, and then this says minus 453.2. That's the x coordinates, and the y coordinates is 34.1. So it might just be easiest for me to remember those numbers and write them down where I need that keyframe to happen. So I'm just going to jump to here, to where that last, there's that last image. It went off the screen just now. So I'm going to go minus 435, I think. 435, and tab, and what was it, 34? 34. There we go. We kind of had to set a hold keyframe to keep it steady until we're ready for it to move. So it's a good idea to set hold keyframes. You just kind of got to remember that. Okay, well, you just got to remember, okay, I want it to stay there, so I better set this keyframe here. I don't want it to start moving yet. And that's what we just did. So now it looks like this. TCTV logo comes in, stops, clips go by. TCTV logo goes to the center, and then it's going to fade out. So we've got to make it fade out. Here's what we'll do. We go to our TCTV layer. It's still on there. Now you want to use a feature called opacity to make it fade out, and you have to set keyframes. So if you can see this, here, we just made it fade out, right? Well, I can't just do that and fade it out, because then it's just going to be faded out for the whole animation. I got to tell it when to fade out. So I set keyframes. I set a keyframe here, and then I set a keyframe later on there, keyframe, and then we fade it out. So now it does this. TCTV logo goes to the full screen, and then it fades out. Hooray! There's a little animation we made. There's our videos going down. We put some sound effects in there and we're good. Okay. All right, so we haven't put any text in our animation yet. So I'm gonna show you how to add text. Wonder what we could add. What kind of text could we add? We could put some, it could be a credit roll, but I'm gonna maybe just make a little text graphic underneath the logo TCTV, and it can be a text graphic that we can change. We can have it say this, then we can have it say something else, and it can change throughout. So underneath the TCTV logo, I'm going to go to my text button or tool. This is a text tool. You can see that it has the T there. So I click T, and then it just lets me, it asks me, where do you want to put this text? And that's what that little symbol is. It's saying, where do you want to put it? So let's put it right here. Click there. And then the first thing we want to say is HD Studio is here. How about that? HD Studio is here. Well, that's pretty boring looking, you know. It's just small little bitty text. Well, let's change it a little bit. So to change it, obviously we need to go into our inspector again. I've got the text layer. You'll see that it just popped up here on my layers. It's also down in here, and I want to point something else out, is since my cursor was on about 2 seconds, that's where the text started, and then before 2 seconds, there was no text, right? So click on text, HD Studio is here. Let's make that look a little better. So we go to we're in our inspector, and in our inspector we've got 4 tabs. Properties, that's the positioning of the text, and we've been doing that already. That's what we've been using to make all these things move around. Behaviors, no behaviors, no filters, but in text, that's where you can change the font, and you can change other things in here. So let's change the font to something good. You have normal font. Let's see, and here we've got some presets, some big gaudy presets that you can just click on, or you can make all that stuff yourself. But so I might just use a preset, and let's see, faux 3D. There, look at that. That is faux 3D. It's a little big because it's going to go over. It's going to, yeah. See, my clips are going to cut it off. So we need to maybe shrink that or put it on 2 lines. We can put a carriage return in here. So I'll just go right before is and hit enter. HD Studio is here, and we probably want this to be centered. So I click centering, it's right there. And then I have to move it over. So I can go to properties to move it over. There. There's our graphic, there's our text. It might still be a little bit too big, so I'm just going to shrink it down by going to my size in text. Doing that a little bit. But the cool thing about this, if you're in motion already anyway, we want something better to happen than just popping on, right? So we go to that layer, HD Studio, and we add what's called a behavior. Behaviors are fun. And they're found in this little gear. And inside behaviors, we have all these text behaviors. Maybe a drift in. Okay, so now it does this. TCTV. HD Studio is here. Did you see that? Would be an opening maybe, or a promo. Anyway, I might use it as a promo. Anyway, thanks you guys for coming second Saturday. I think that, I don't know what we're going to do next month, but it will be posted, and so we'll figure it out. If you have suggestions for a workshop we should do on a second Saturday, please let me know. You know, send me an email, rkam@tctv.net. Or you can give us a call, 956-3100, and I'm extension 103.
Are these hosts free on the second Saturday?
Yep, every second Saturday we have a free workshop.
Saturday.